as a teenager coming up in the game, I wasn't really wild with money like that. Like I said, my family was really like telling me about investments. Like my mother was like, if you own a house, you won't have to worry about money ever again. And I still own the same house. So, but the drawback of it is that it's made me boring now because I missed out on a lot of stuff. I didn't get to go bowling and do stuff like that. Now I love to do that. Like, that's why my last album was called I Rap and Go Home, because like that's what I do now. Like I didn't go to my prom, I didn't go to my graduation. I missed a lot of stuff being on the road. It was pretty balanced because, you know, my family didn't do that superstar stuff. I could come from a show with $5 in my pocket and still have to take the garbage out. So, you know what I'm saying? It was one of them type of things, you know. And then growing up in Queensbridge, it's almost impossible to get Hollywood because they'll remind you that you're being Hollywood. So, you know, it wasn't like a Bruce Wayne persona, more say like, I actually enjoyed it because it gives you balance. When you come home, you don't get everything you want. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool. So, I mean, I'm just glad to still be here. It's crazy because Queens, for some particular reason, we were exposed to a lot of different stuff. Like we talked earlier, you said Queens has like the most different ethnic groups that out of any borough, and you could go from one part of Queens and be completely in the hood and go to another part and be in the suburbs. So like a lot of those guys, like you mentioned, like Tribe and them, they were able to probably like concentrate more as opposed to just being stuck in the hood, right? Because they had backyards and stuff. And a lot of people from Queens is big on education. You had to be smart. You couldn't just act smart. You had to actually be smart, and they'll test you on your knowledge. So I think like a lot of hip hop didn't start in Queens, obviously, but the MCs took it to another level in Queens and Long Island, even for that matter, because we felt like we had to prove ourselves more. They was always dissing Queens, you know, even back in the 80s, you know. So it was like Manhattan keeps on making it, Brooklyn, you know, all of that. But it made us go harder, you know what I mean? And the thing about Queens, it's like its own little world separate from the city. Everybody from Queens acts a certain way as opposed to a Brooklyn dude or a Harlem dude or Uptown dude. It's weird, man. It's very weird. But I'm just appreciative that there's so much great hip-hop coming out of my borough. Like some of the greatest artists in hip-hop, Run DMC, LL, came from our borough. So we may not have created it, but we definitely elevated it. You know what I mean? I would tell the young Craig G, what would I tell myself? Don't do that first album with all the house songs on it. That's what I would tell myself. I would definitely tell myself that. I mean, I was 16 and it was like, here's 50,000, but we want you to do this hip house song. But the weird thing about it is Turn This House to a Home actually got me my deal with Atlantic, which was weird because it was one of my biggest songs and I never performed it, ever. And I liked house music when I made it, but then by the time the album came out, I kind of grew out of house music. But I shouldn't have did 3 of them on the album. I shouldn't have listened to Molly. My second album was actually called Now That's More Like It because I hated the Kingpin so much. That's what I would tell myself. I would have definitely made my first album more Dropping Science and less Frankie Knuckles. So